Hey everyone, let's learn how to set up the animation library so we can drag and drop the animations and reuse them at any time we want. And this has been one of my most requested videos, and I finally figured out a way to do it, and it's actually not that hard. So let's begin. So right here, I created this scene and I spent multiple days on this. I created multiple animations over here. As you can see, I have this jump animation, turns and backflips and whatnot. So the way I want to use them is I can actually go in a new Blender file, just click on File, Append, and drag and drop this, but it's actually very time consuming. So an easier way to do it is use an asset library. Blender, since the 3.0 release, has a very good feature, which is the asset library. So if I click here and then open the asset browser, as you can see, I have the asset browser over here. So you might have remembered this from my pose library tutorial, and now we're going to do the animation library tutorial. So as you can see, I have a bunch of HDRIs over here. I have the Minecraft objects and weapons, and the way you can create an asset is pretty easy. So I'm going to show you an example. So let's say I'm going to create a cube over here, Shift A, Mesh, Cube. And let's say I just want to remesh the cube and do some random shapes with it. I'm going to hide my camera temporarily. So I'm going to add the subdivision, maybe bevel this, and let's create like a simple vase shape or something like that. Maybe extrude this up, scale this down, insert it again, extrude this up, scale, and I'm just creating a very random shape. And then now if I want to save this thing as an asset, let's shade it smooth, I can go in the outliner. So if I scroll down, I have the cube right here, and then you can rename this if you want us to organize. For example, let's rename this vase. This is not a good shape, but I'm just giving you an example. So I'm going to go to the outliner, right click, and now I'm going to click on Mark as Asset. Now this will be marked as an asset, but this will not be saved here. So you might not have all of these folders, but I'm going to teach you how to create this. If you go in the asset browser and you click on all, or you click on the current file, you're going to have this stuff created over here. So if I click on current file and then I click on unassigned, as you can see, I have this vase over here. Now if I go in the all and then I scroll down, I also have the unassigned stuff over here, and then I have the vase over here. Now the reason why pose library is unassigned is because I have created a pose library in a different Blender file. This file is called the animation library, and I have all of these ones saved in the pose library. So if I'm going to make any changes, like for example delete these assets or add new pose assets, I'm going to have to open the pose library. So I already created a vase over here, and let's say I want to drag and drop this in my MC objects folder, for example. And the MC objects folder is saved in my asset library. Now that I have dragged and dropped this in my MC objects over here, first thing I need to do is save the file. So I'm going to click on Ctrl S and then make sure that my file is saved. Now I'm going to open up a new Blender file from my taskbar. Now I'm going to press on A, select everything, delete everything, expand the timeline, and then select this and then jump in the asset library. The way you can do that is press on A. If you press on A, you can jump in the asset library. Now if I go to the MC objects catalog, these things are cataloged over here. They basically act like folders. Now if I go here, as you can see, I have all of my MC objects, including the new vase I have created. So if I drag and drop this vase over here, as you can see, I can just take this and drag and drop this pretty easily, and I have this in my scene. Now, if you want to import an object the old way, you have to go to File, Append, and then find all of your old folders, but this is a very easy way to do this. So basically the way the asset library works is you're telling Blender to take this object from the folder you saved it in, and then simply drag and drop this in the scene. So this basically acts like File, Append the collection, but with like easy drag and drop method over here. So as you can see, I've saved a bunch of assets from the online asset library, for example, the Boxcape Studios or even the MC Prep or MC Blend asset library. You can just select the objects and then mark them as an asset, and they can drag and drop these easily into your scene. So that's pretty easy to do. Now we're going to do kind of the same thing with the animation, but we want to do a few things a bit differently because these are like the whole animation library. And we want to use the action editor, so we want to work well with the action editor. I'm going to close this scene and go back to my main scene. And I don't really need to use this. So if you don't use the, if you don't want to use the asset, or if you create an asset and you don't like this and you want to change it, you can simply go to the catalog where you have the asset in, right click, just click on clear asset, and your asset will be gone. And this is not going to be marked as asset, as you can see. By the way, in the outliner, if I mark something as an asset, it's going to have this bookshelf library type of icon. And if I right click here and then clear asset, or I can also clear asset from here as well. I can click on here, right click, clear asset, it will be cleared from the asset library. And now I'm just gonna delete this. Now I'm gonna show you how you can set up an animation library. So the very first thing you need to do is select the destination folder where your animations will be saved. Now, this animation library is a simple Blender file where I just have saved in my usual Blender animations folder. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Blender folder where I have my Blender version saved. So for it might be C, documents, whatever, but I saved my Blender in my G drive, which is basically my drive where I have the most space. So what I did is I went into my G drive, went into the Blender folder, and as you can see, I have this 3.6 and 4.0 versions, but under here I created the add-ons folder and the libraries folder. So I have the animation library, asset library, and pose library. And pose library is something that I already did a tutorial about, and you can check it out in the description. But what we're going to focus is the animation library. So the asset library is something that you can see over here. So if I click on this, I only have the pose library, which is this, and I have the asset library, and I have a bunch of assets over here. So as you can see, I have the HDRI, MC objects, weapons. I can drag and drop the weapons anytime I want, and also the HDRI, which is pretty cool. So if I go to the rendered view, I'm going to select this, drag and drop this, and then I'm going to have the HDR applied in the entire scene. So if I just wait for it, as you can see, I have the HDR applied pretty easily. I can do the same thing and swap the HDRs if I want to. So you can just drag and drop these, and it's pretty easy to set up. It's very, very cool. It's very convenient, and it saves you a lot of time. And now let's learn how to make the animation library. So first thing, as you can see, I open up a folder, and what you're going to do is when you select your destination folder, for example, I selected my drive, went to Blender, and created the animation library. So I'm going to go to the animation library. As you can see, I have the animation library saved over here. If you have this saved somewhere else, you can just go to File, Save As, and then save this as in your animation library folder. So I have the animation library saved over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, left click, select this, and then click on Ctrl C to copy the file path basically. So again, left click, copy, and then the file path will be copied over here. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to go back to my Blender file, which is this animation library folder, which is saved in this folder basically that I just showed you. And then I'm going to go to the Edit, Preferences, now go to the File Paths. So File Paths is the one which is on the very bottom. Now I have the asset library and pose library created, as you can see, but the way we can create a new library is click on this plus button. Now I'm going to select this over here and then insert the file path. So I'm going to click on Ctrl V, and then this is the file path that we're in, obviously. And if I'm in a different file path, for example over here, I can select this, Ctrl V, and this is going to jump me back into my desired location. Now I'm going to click on Add Asset Library, and then we just created a new animation library over here. And I'm going to save the preferences, turn this off, and now if I click here, as you can see, I have the new animation library created, which we didn't have before. So if I click here, I can make any changes I want to. And I'm also going to expand this menu and create a timeline, just in case I want to make any changes and play the animation back over and over again. So as you can see, we just created this animation library over here. So if I click this, select this, I have the animation library over here, and we can do a lot of things over here. So first thing we need to do is we can obviously mark the animations as an asset, but if you want to be organized, you can create catalogs over here. So what we can do is click on this plus icon, and we're going to create a new catalog. I can double click this and then name this, for example, walks. And I can drag all of my walks over here. But again, as you can see, it has a small icon over here, which means that this is not saved. And the way we can save this is click on this button over here, Save Asset Catalogs. It will be saved. Or you can also click on just Ctrl S, save your file. And if you save your file, it will be automatically saved as well. Now, let's say I want to add my walk cycle in the asset library, in the animation library. And then I want to drag and drop this over here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, I'm going to select one of my walk cycles. So I'm going to select the walk cycle one over here. And the very first thing I want you to make sure is go to the dope sheet. Go to the action editor over here. First one, the default one is dope sheet. Now click on action editor and make sure your actions are named properly so that you're organized. This one, as you can see, is named walk cycle 1. I'm just going to select this and copy this because later we're going to create a thumbnail and then name the thumbnail the same name which the action has assigned to. So as you can see, I have the walk cycle 1 action over here created. What you can do is go to the outliner. You can find your collection over here. I'm going to collapse these menus. You can select your armature. You don't even need to expand your armature. So you can select the armature, right click, and then click on mark as asset. And it will be now marked as an asset. So if I go to unassigned over here, as you can see, we have the walk cycle 1 created. Now, this is pretty hard to see, right? So what we can do is add a thumbnail for it. So if I go to something like, I don't know, frame 10, and if I unhide my camera, I'm going to press on Alt H. I'm going to go inside my camera. If you don't have a camera, you can just click on Shift A and create a camera from here. Now I'm going to position my camera in front of my character where it's more comfortable for me. And by the way, I use the 500 by 500 resolution for the camera. It doesn't need to be high resolution. We're just doing it for ourselves. Now that I have positioned my camera, select the character rig. Now what we need to do is go to the asset library. Make sure to select the walk cycle 1, the new asset which you just created. Press on N. Now scroll down until you see this folder icon. Now I'm going to press on this folder, and then we need to create a new thumbnails folder before we open this up. So what we can do is turn off the overlays, click on view, now click on viewport render image, and now I'm going to select the image and then save as. Now we can go to the animation library folder over here which we just created. So go to the animation library, create a new folder over here, and let's name this thumbnails. And so that we're more organized because we're going to create a bunch of thumbnails. Select this and then save as image. Now the image will be saved here. You can turn this off. Now I'm going to click on this folder icon, go inside your thumbnails over here, and then select the walk cycle 1. If you want to preview this, you can click on this view option. Now I'm going to left click, double click, select this, and as you can see, walk cycle 1 is applied. Now make sure you save your file whenever you mess around with the asset library. First thing I need to do is select this and drag and drop this inside our walks catalog so that it will be over here. Now I'm going to press on Ctrl S to save the scene, and now I'm going to open up a brand new Blender file, and I'm going to show you how to use this animation library in your actual Blender file which you're working on. So I'm going to press on A to delete everything, and I'm going to import my new character rig. So I just imported my character rig. I'm going to go to the solid view and turn on texture. And by the way, I'm using the BPS rig version 4. It belongs to the Squared Media YouTube channel, and I will leave their YouTube channel and the Discord link in the description. If you want to download this rig, you can join the Discord and download it from there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this timeline. I'm also going to create a new view over here by hovering over this left corner, left click, drag this up, and then change the top view from timeline to asset library. And then also change the bottom timeline to the dope sheet, change the dope sheet to the action editor. And now if I go to the asset library on my top view, I can select all and then select the animation library which we just created. Now I can go to walks over here or click on all in this case. If you click on all, you're going to have all of your animations created over here. But if you click on the catalogs, you can be more organized. So I'm going to click on walks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and drag this somewhere on the left side or the right side. Drag this over here. As you can see, I dragged my action and my bones over here. But as you can see, this looks pretty messy. But you can fix this. But I'm going to tell you now that you don't have to fix this. Because the main principle for the animation library is we want to import the action inside our new animation folder. So I'm going to go back to my animation library folder. And the way you can fix this is, again, you don't have to, but you can expand this. You can expand your armature and expand the bone shapes over here, which is this one. And then you could just drag and drop and delete all of these bone shapes. But I don't want to do that because I don't have to, and it's tedious because I already have a bunch of animations created. So I'm going to minimize this. But again, you have the option over here. If you delete those, and if you import this in a new Blender file, you're going to import only like a thin skeleton over here. But again, you don't have to. So once I dragged and dropped this animation, the first thing I need to do is go into the action editor, which we just opened, and make sure to set the fake user for your action. So as you can see, once I dragged and dropped this, I already created the walk cycle 1 in my new Blender file. I'm going to click on the set fake user. So once we set a fake user, we can already delete this because we drag and drop this and we have all of these selected, which is pretty good. So I can just press on X, delete, and this will be deleted. But the most important thing we did is we already imported an action in our Blender file. So as you can see, this has the F walk cycle, and F means it has a fake user. Now, fake user means that it doesn't actually have a user, but when you set a fake user, it's going to save the action. So one thing I recommend is when you import a bunch of animations like this, you drag and drop this and delete this, set a fake user and then delete this. What you can do is go to File, Clean Up, click on Unused Data Blocks, and this is going to purge a bunch of items which you're not using. So this is going to purge all of the unused data, all of the unused materials, and all of the unused mesh data and whatever it is. So I'm going to click on this, and this is going to keep your file more clean, organized, and it's actually going to reduce your actual Blender file size as well. So make sure you do that on your last step. After you import all of your animations, just go to File, Clean Up, and clean up all of the unused data. Now, if you want to be extra clean and you don't like the cluttering stuff or when you import the armature inside your new scene, what you can also do is, for example, select one of the animations. Like I have this pretty simple superhero landing animation, And what you can do is, instead of setting the armature as an asset, you can select the entire collection where you have everything like your characters and objects. In this case, I have the wooden planks and my character animation. So what we can do is right click. First of all, make sure to go inside your action editor, make sure you have the action named properly. Right click on your collection, mark as an asset. As you can see, it's automatically going to create a thumbnail as well, which is pretty convenient, but you can also click on N and change the thumbnail yourself. So I can also save the scene, reopen my new test scene. And if I open up my new test scene, go to all, and then drag and drop the superhero landing, you can see it's way cleaner. It doesn't have all of the cluttery objects around it. And if I go to the action editor once again, make sure to go to dope sheet, action editor, and then make sure to select the superhero landing action if it's not selected, set a fake user for it, and then delete everything. So if I select this, it's going to be combined into one single object basically. So if I click on X, delete, it's going to be pretty easy to delete. So as you can see, you can do it this way with marking the armature as an object, set a fake user and delete this, or you can also import the collection over here and then set a fake user. But the good thing about when you're marking as an armature, when you're marking an armature as in a library, when you import it, it's already going to be opened in the action editor. But when you import the collection, it's not going to be open, but you can just click on this, select your animation, which is a superhero landing in this case, and set a fake user for it. So you have both ways. Now you can choose whichever way you want to do, but I think now I'm going to mix it up because both ways work really well. And if I have a bunch of objects, I'm just going to select the object, mark this as an asset, select the thumbnail, and it's going to be all good in the end. So just go for whichever way you want. Now, the cool thing is, if I select my BPS character Rick, which has no motion whatsoever, I can click on the action editor and assign the walk cycle 1 action. And as you can see, my character is going to be walking. Now, the reason why the head is not moving properly is because I don't have the inherent rotation set. So I'm going to go to the pose mode, select my head, go to the bone options, go to the rotations, and then disable inherent rotations. This is something that I learned from Eagle Studio's video about the animation tricks, and I will leave a link for this video in the description and you can check it out as well and show the support. So if I click on this spacebar and I click on the walk cycle, as you can see, the animation is working properly. And if I want the animation to go on forever, I can just select this, press on H, select all the keyframes, Shift E, make cyclic, and the animation is gonna go forever basically. And as you can see, this is pretty easy and convenient. You can just create a bunch of animations in your animation library, drag and drop them, set a fake user for the animation, and then make sure to apply them in your character if you want to apply them. And let's say I want my character to walk and then start running suddenly. So I'm going to go back to my animation library. Let's create a new catalog, name this something like runs. So I'm going to import a bunch of run cycles over here, save the file to make sure that this catalog is saved. And then let's open up a sprint. For example, I have a sprint, which is like a fast running animation over here. So I'm going to select this, select the armature, right click, mark as asset. First, make sure it's named properly. I'm going to go to the unassigned. I'm also going to select one of the pose which I want. For example, I like this pose. I'm going to adjust my camera, turn off the overlays, view, viewport render image, image save as. We're already in our folder automatically, so I'm going to name this sprint. Basically, name your thumbnails the same name you gave them in the action editor so that you're more organized. I'm going to save the image as, turn this off, click on N once again. If you don't see this panel, scroll down, select the folder, and then select the sprint. And as you can see, I've just created a thumbnail for this. Now left click and drag this in the runs folder. And after we drag and drop this from unassigned to runs, make sure to save the scene. So just click on Ctrl S, save the scene. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Blender file, which I was just messing around with, save this as a test. I'm going to save this as a test in my Blender YouTube tutorials folder, and I'm going to turn this off and then restart the scene. So turn off your scene and then restart this. And now once I restart my animation, as you can see, I have the not only walk cycle, but also the sprint over here. If I click on walk, I'm going to only see the walk cycles. If I click on runs as catalog, I'm only going to see the sprint. So now what I can do is I'm going to left click, drag this, again, set a fake user, press on X to delete everything over here. You can also do this, but you don't have to do this all the time. Just clean up unused data blocks. And what I'm going to show you is, once I imported this, I imported the sprint walk cycle again. I don't set the fake user, right? I delete this. If I go to the action editor, it has this 0, which means that if you turn off the Blender file and open it up, or if you go to the file, unused data blocks, and delete everything over here, this action is going to be lost. If it has the set F over here, it's safe. It's not going to be deleted. But if it is 0, I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to go file, clean up unused data blocks, And if I go to the action editor, as you can see, it's gone. So make sure to, when you import the animations over here, just click on the fake user and then delete this. By the way, if you're using other character rigs, I don't think they're gonna have the same issue over here. But then again, if they have this issue, don't worry about it. We're mainly focusing on the action. Now you might be thinking, why don't you just select the action and mark this as an asset? Now I tried doing that, but it didn't really work properly. So I went with this way that I'm explaining now, and it actually works really well. And now if I want to combine these animations, it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to select the action editor, go to nonlinear animation editor, NLA editor. If you don't know how this works, and if you're pretty intimidated, then I have a detailed tutorial about that, and you can check out the description for that. So as you can see in the NLA editor, I have this walk cycle 1 action. If I click on this push down, it's going to push the action down into strip. As you can see, I have the walk cycle, and I can expand this as long as I want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go somewhere before the end. Like if I go towards the end, and if I click on Shift A and insert the sprint action, it's going to insert the sprint action next to it. Now if I select this G, move it around, I cannot move it around properly. If I want to move it up, I can hover over here, press on Shift A, it's going to create a new clip section, click on G, move it up, and you can move it up this way. But an easier method I found is don't go like towards the end or after the end, just go somewhere before the end, like over here, where the action is still existing over here on the line. Click on Shift A, click on Sprint. As you can see, the sprint is going to spawn on top automatically. Now what we can do is select the sprint. As you can see, the character is not moving before the sprint. So we can select this, click here. If you don't see this, make sure to press on N, and then set the extrapolation from hold to nothing, which means the character is going to be doing the previous action as long as the next action as well. Now I'm going to select the sprint, press on auto blend. Again, if you don't know how this works, if you're pretty intimidated, you can check out my NLA editor tutorial. I'm going to select this, press on auto blend as well. I'm going to select the sprint, scroll down and expand the action clip and make sure to set the repeat to, I don't know, whatever I want, like 4 for example. And now as you can see, if my character is walking, they start running instantly. Now this is pretty easy to set up. Like I didn't have to recreate the walk cycle, I didn't have to recreate the sprint. I just created an animation library. I just dragged and dropped these actions, set a fake user, and reapplied the animations to my actual scene. So this is pretty easy to do. I said multiple times that I'm working on a large series, which is going to be about multiple adventures that Steve is going to go on. So this animation library trick is really going to be handy for me, and I hope it's going to be handy for you as well. And there you go. Yeah, this is pretty easy to set up. As you can see, this is how you can create a new animation library folder. So I have a lot of animations over here. Like I have this axe tree chop. I can just select the armature, mark this as an asset, and if I want to import in my new Blender file, I can just go to my catalog, drag and drop this over here. And before I start animating, before I start the production, I'm going to have to mark everything as an asset, and I can just import them pretty easily in my new Blender file. So as you can see, I have a bunch of animations over here with like backflips and run cycles. And if you wonder how I created all of these, I just sat down and created them manually. But if you wanna know how I came up with the idea to create all of these, I just went to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT that, hey, I'm working on this large animation series, Minecraft animation series, and which actions do you think will be appropriate to create? I want to create an animation library so that I don't have to recreate the animations. And it just gave me a very good list of all of these animations, like the environment animations, the interaction animations, the basic walk cycle. So I just sat down, took the time and create these. Now this might take some time for you to create, but I'm telling you that it's very, very worth it. So I recommend you to do the same as well. And after you create the animation library, and if you forget how the actual animation library setup works, you can just rewatch this video and do everything step by step. So yeah, this is me from the future, and as you can see, I just finished setting up my animation library with all of the thumbnails over here. I organized everything from here to here, and I found that all of these to be pretty disorganized when they're all put together. So if I click on all, I'm going to see everything here, but I decided to organize these in these categories. So I have bed, which is basically sleeping and getting up. Then I have the combat animations with the bows and dodges and whatnot with the sword attacks. Then I have the common movements like waving, breathing, laughing, and so on. Then I have the environmental animations where the character interacts with the environment, for example, chopping down the tree, building, climbing, and like farming wheat and mining and so on. You get the idea. Then I have the falling animations where I have the fall forward, falling from a height. Then I have the jumping animations, backflip, superhero landing. I have the run cycles over here, and I have the walk cycles over here. And you can create as many categories as you want. You can organize them as much as you want. And once I start my production, which is going to start soon, I can just drag and drop these and reapply them to my character pretty easily. So drag and drop, create a fake user, and then apply it to your character. So hopefully you get the idea how it works. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Smashing the like button will be highly appreciated. If you like this video, it's going to help out a lot. And also, once again, if you want to learn how the NLA editor works, you can check out the video on the right side. But if you want to learn how the pose library works, you can check out the video on the left side. So I will see you in whichever video you choose, or I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.